Good morning.
Good morning, Robert.
Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center in Pflugerville. Larry Henson just did our meditation, and he used the term entrainment. And it has been resonating in my mind for the last 4 or 5 minutes, because it's really the answer to what we're all looking for in the context of a spiritual path. And what we're talking about this morning is a continuation of the understanding of the Lord's Prayer. But the Lord's Prayer idea is an entrainment of frequencies. What Larry said was we're going to do the toning or the singing until we reach a point of entrainment. And entrainment means basically we're vibrating at a frequency that is similar or at a spiritual frequency. And the world is energy. Science has pretty well proven everything is energy. And everything is energy at different frequencies. And we are frequency generators and frequency receivers. So that in our role as human beings, we're here to transmit energies. Hello. And the Lord's Prayer, well, last week we talked about the encompassment of the Lord's Prayer. The minute you say, Our Father, you're encompassing everybody that's embodied in the earth, and you're encompassing Father, which meant all good. And then we got involved in the difference between in earth and on earth. In earth metaphysically means the earth in everything that's manifested, that we have brought into manifestation. Science tells us that our thoughts create things. And so there are ethers, or there are energies all around us that through our thinking we bring into manifestation in the physical world. That's why we're here, folks. Our job is to be co-creators with God. And as co-creators, we're bringing into our world experience those things around us. And the word entrainment, Larry, I must admit, you changed everything.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah. Because if you really look at it, everything is energy. Relationships are energy. We have people stop by the house all the time, so a lot of you are there for classes. And would you believe each class has a different energy in it? Why? Because the people sitting in the class bring different energies into the class. We had a conversation with a lady yesterday. We do counseling. And in the process, the energies weren't right. And it was what I call disharmony. Everybody there? And so energies are there, and it's our job to vibrate at what we call a mystical energy. And the mystical energies are the energies that Jesus, our master teacher, was trying to teach us. And the part of the Lord's Prayer we're going to talk about today is, give us this day our daily bread. Now, give us this day our daily bread. How come he didn't ask for weekly or monthly or yearly or lifetime bread? Because what he was saying was there's an energy all around us at all times, and in that process we have to learn to depend upon it and trust it, that in our thinking we can bring in what we need. Now, metaphysically, if you go into Charles Fillmore's work in the Revealing Word, bread means everything that we manifest, okay? So all of our needs, everything that we need, our relationships, our food, our house, even the transportation we use, that's all part of the daily bread. Anybody agree those are the things you need to get by in today's world? And who says that you should have this or that? You do. Very, very interesting. There was another quote I heard. I admit to watching the boob tube. And I heard a quote last night. It was real interesting to me. Somebody was encouraging somebody else, and what they said was, why are you trying so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Now, everything in the scriptures, as far as I know, says you're a child of God, you're an expression of divinity. And I'm not just saying the Christian scriptures, I'm saying all the scriptures point to who you really are. As a child of God, you have a creative ability within you to create your daily bread. And that daily bread includes relationships, It includes everything that we need to sustain life. And how come your life is different than mine or somebody, see, everybody has their own thinking that they have created their world in it. And entrainment is the key. It's kind of like, can I get into vibration with spiritual ideas? So Larry and I were also talking before the service about the different lives of Jesus. There's a historical life of Jesus. There's the religious life of Jesus that has been interpreted, if you will, through our churches. And then there's the mystical life of Jesus that he was trying to share with us how to operate in today's world. And in the mystical life, that's what we study as Christianity. And it's all vibration. So if we want life to work, then we need to work with the vibrations that produce a daily bread that we were looking for. And what does that mean? The next step, it says, to forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Everybody there? Now, another translation says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive our trespasses. By the way, the word trespasses is used in the original King James in the 14th verse in that chapter, Matthew 6. So the word trespasses is used there, and the word debts is used in earlier. And then you get involved in the Lamsa translation, and the Lamsa says, forgive us our offenses as we forgive our offenders. So do you realize how many times forgiveness is mentioned in the Christian scriptures? And how many times is it mentioned in the other scriptures of the world? So do you think maybe there's a key here in forgiveness? And the energy, see, we put off energies. And it's like relationships. Do you ever go around somebody you really like? Why? Because there's a harmonizing of the energies that we think the same way or we're in the same path. That's why it's important to hang around each other. That's why people hang out together for a long-term marriage. I saw that. She reached over her pad. So the idea behind it is, how do we get into synchronicity with those things we're looking for? How do we get into synchronicity with a partner? How do we get into synchronicity with friends? How do we get into synchronicity at work? And it's basically, number one, the golden rule, but that golden rule implies forgiveness. So what's interesting is, in the Lord's Prayer, it's Matthew 6, by the way, which is part of the Sermon on the Mount. And Matthew 6:14, after we go through the Lord's Prayer, the next verse, right after the Lord's Prayer is, you ready? For if you forgive people their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. Okay? Now, self-image psychology is a big issue in today's world. How do I feel about myself? How do I interact with myself? The whole basis of a lot of, let's call it psychological change is forgiveness. The whole root of AA is forgiving. The whole root of AA and other change modality in the psychiatric areas is based upon self-image and forgiveness and letting go of the past. So when I let go of the past, what do? I forgive. So this forgiveness is a big issue that I think we have a tendency to overlook. And a lot of times it's like, for some reason, I've been working on a path. The spiritual path, you're always on the path. Everybody get that? Mm-hmm. And we're a community, we're looking for a spiritual answer to things. And when you start looking for spiritual answer to things pop up in your life. I didn't realize how much my childhood was affecting me in today's world. And somebody asked me a question yesterday morning, and that question brought back a whole string of events that occurred 60, 70 years ago. Anybody been there?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh my goodness, that's still there. And I had to go back, and I'm still going back, to be honest with you, forgiving that issue, that event. Now, I didn't realize how it affected everything in my work life, how it affected my interaction with you, my interaction with my partner, wife. And I didn't realize how I held people at a distance because I didn't want to get too close. Everybody, now that's speaking about it so I can forgive myself and let the past go. So we're dealing with energies, and we're dealing with frequencies, and the frequencies, this is what Jesus kept saying. The kingdom of heaven is within. The kingdom of heaven is in our thinking. The kingdom of heaven is based in our thoughts and the structures that we're putting together. So, where do those thoughts come from? Anybody ever sit and think and try to slow your mind down and wonder where the thoughts come from? They're random. They really are. And try to not think. Anybody ever done that? Okay? So we're constantly in this conversation about, I know that my thinking creates my life, but how do I change my thinking? And what I really believe one of the first steps is forgiveness. Give us this day our daily bread, which is learning to trust, learning to know that I'm taken care of, and that I really am a child of God, and then going through and forgiving those around me that are bringing up all that stuff that I don't want to hear. Everybody familiar with that conversation? So I don't want to get too heavy on this, but I want to really, really dig into what Jesus was saying. Because we're all looking for easy life, yes? And right now the world's in a turmoil. I don't know about you, but I get hooked. I turned on the TV yesterday and I was on there for an hour. And I listened to I listened to all the news programs, and I was fully loaded with junk. And I had my opinions, and they were based upon my past and what I thought was right. Now, what's interesting is it's like what's right for you might be absolutely wrong for somebody else. You take a look at the cultural differences in the world. One of the big issues I bring out and brought it up in the past, during the Second World War, it was an honor for the Japanese pilots to die for the honor of the emperor, but at the same time we hold suicide as a sin. So there's cultural differences in everything. So how many differences are there between us? And when I look at somebody and make a judgment about them, it's based on my thinking, not their thinking. So if I am judging all the time, I'm in that constant turmoil of judging, which means I'm not forgiving. So letting go of the past is literally letting go of my judgment. Now, part of the Bible does say, judge not lest you be judged. Because when I have a thought, I'm creating that thought in my life. It's really kind of fascinating. Now, I'm still back on Larry. Because we live in a universe of energies, frequencies. So the question becomes, what energy am I vibrating at? And where am I going and what am I doing? And the big question is, how come somebody lives an abundant lifestyle and somebody doesn't? Maybe it's just the energy we're vibrating at. Kat and her group are meeting on Tuesday nights, studying the dynamic laws of prosperity, and they're finding out that the dynamic laws of prosperity have a lot to do with what I speak and what I believe, which is fascinating. Okay?
I have 3 copies of the book if anybody wants one.
Say that again.
I have 3 copies of the Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. If anyone's interested, they're $15.
Okay. So the Dynamic Laws of Prosperity is written by Catherine Ponder, who is a unity minister who has studied prosperity for years. And I'm aware of more people creating wealth through her than almost any other outlet. But the idea behind it is, what I think about, I create. And the entrainment I get. Did you notice here? See, I can't wait to come here on Sunday mornings because I feel the energies of you. And there's an entrainment that occurs. And any group I put myself into, I become part of that group. So when I'm in a group that isn't for my highest and best, I still become entrained into that energy. So it's really just learning to be present to what's affecting me and how I'm balancing out my life. It's also why I believe it's important to be meditating which is the kingdom of heaven is within. It's important to be speaking good things about me and others. And it's important to hang out with people that think the same way. I'm still working on entrainment. What I honestly see is that everything is energy, and that we become part, when we vibrate, we actually vibrate at the energies that surround us. And one of the issues is sometimes energies change with somebody, or things change. When I used to be hanging out in, well, the truth is, saloons, bars, I can remember feeling I didn't feel comfortable in this one because they were angry. How did I know they were angry? Because I am trained with them. So we become like the people we associate with. So I love you dearly. Thank God you're here. And the question is, where are we going? What are we doing? Because we're living in a polarized society, and it's very easy to come over here and say, I don't like what's happening here, I have to fight back against these folks. Or the other way, I have to fight back because those folks don't understand life.
They're not behaving right.
Say it again?
They're not behaving right.
No, they're not behaving the way they should. And who decides who should?
Me.
Me. Again, we had a conversation with a lady yesterday that was upset that her family wasn't doing what she thought they should do. Anybody familiar with that idea?
Oh, yeah.
And what came out was she wanted to run them. She wanted to control her family. Now, I don't know about you, but you ever tried to control your family? But the only issue is my picture is different than their picture, and allowing them to live their life and be guided by their entrained energy becomes a challenge for us. Because they're not doing it the way I would do it, which is the first step in forgiving. We are told to see the Christ. We are told to let go and let God. So I am letting go and letting God of my family. Anybody willing to join with me? With your family now. But you see what's happening to us, and we are in a world where everybody has opinions, and we get stuck on the opinions based on what we believe is true. So all I'm suggesting is that we start looking at this energy and how we can be in energy that's more favorable to us and more favorable to the world. Everybody's talking about peace. How do you create peace? You vibrate to peace. You don't vibrate to criticism. You don't vibrate to anger. You don't vibrate to hate. You vibrate to love. And what is love? Love is the energy of God in training. There's more. But I think I've reached the end. I would like to go through that quote again, because that quote was kind of, I put it somewhere. That quote was interesting to me, and the quote was, from memory, was, why are you working so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out? Okay, and standing out means that I am a direct descendant of divinity, and I am vibrating at the level of divinity and affecting everybody around me in a very positive way. So thank you for allowing me to do that, talk about it, because once we start talking about it, it might happen on the physical world. Thank you. I love you dearly. All of you.
Good, right?